Hello and welcome to K-Stop Fuses K-Pop Podcast. Hello everybody, this is Jeff, and as always I am joined by the Younguk to my Zello, Tina Zhu.
Hello, welcome to another episode of K-Stop.
A special Election Day edition.
Yes, happy Election Day in America.
Yeah. Oh yes, in America,
where
of course.
we are all very stressed, but
yes.
Stressed and anxious.
Stressed and anxious, but happy to take a little time out. Today we're filming on Election Day or recording on Election Day. Happy to take some time out of a stressful day
and just to chat about. Well, there are some stressful aspects of this week's episode.
Very controversial episode, actually. But
it's nice to not just only be thinking about election stuff this morning today.
Yes, so. It's always great to catch up with my Tina, with the K-Stop listeners, with everyone, and just talk about something fun and mostly fun.
Mostly fun.
And talk about a little K-pop. So, first and foremost, want to give a shout out. As you guys know, gotta always let you guys know. If you don't know, you guys are as much part of this show as we are. We love listener comments. We love hearing what you guys have to say, your guys' reviews, your guys' comments, everything. Want to give a shout out to @theadultbrat, who we both laughed at this tweet, and we wrote that feeling when there are more than 3 releases in 1 week and you don't know which one's K-Stop we'll talk about. We saw that via
so funny.
Hashtag K-Stop on Twitter, and it's true. Well, last week we had this issue too that we were kind of deciding, who to mention, who because we typically, this typical structure is 3. We talk about 3 releases, get to our charts, and then get to our deep cut. But if there's something that you guys really, really want to hear, of course, let us know, because we're here to serve you.
We definitely take that into consideration.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it's if we have a third one that we're not sure about, we just go with personal bias or whatever.
Mostly, yeah. And mostly Tina just bullies me into choosing whatever she wants. But
we must do this art.
It's true. No, just kidding. Or am I? But no, yeah. So, if you @theadultbrat or anyone listening really want to hear us review something, and don't forget, it's not just K-pop. We're talking, we are very open to K-rock, K-indie, so many different things. Sure. If you remember, we reviewed the Far East Movement album that had everyone from Yoon Mi-rae to Tiffany to Urban
Zakapa. And sometimes y'all put us onto new things.
Yes.
The Produce 101 girls, I actually did not know about that show.
Right. And you guys loved that show.
Yeah, and we got a lot of great feedback, when we talked about them, and then they became artists that we covered with actual official releases. And,
one of my favorites.
Yeah, and that ended up being really dope. So yeah, request whatever.
So, stay tuned to see which 3 we did end up picking, because once again, it was another packed week. Last week, I think we had to also let a couple go, but we for sure always want to hear what you guys think. So thank you so much for the comments, and thanks for the laugh. And otherwise, we also want to give a shout out to @YellerVan, who last week we talked about Blackpink and their comeback with Playing with Fire and Stay. Yeah. And she hit us up on Twitter saying #K-Stop. Lyrics aside, completely adore the sound of Blackpink's Playing with Fire. And I think that was also in line with what I was saying last week too, is that, it's a fierce bop, I walk down the street and feel fierce while listening to it, we were we also felt a little not so sure if this was the most mature output, things like that, but yeah, 100% we're with you with the Blackpink. And
I think Stay is still, I'm holding on to that one a little bit more. I think Playing with Fire still isn't really sticking with me. I don't dislike it. I think it really is just something that I'm very lukewarm about. Yeah. So I'm not really seeking that out, but I still like the vibe of Stay a lot. So that I've been playing that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been more so playing with. I've been more so playing with fire. But yeah, no, they're doing really well from what I can see. It's a really competitive time right now, as you'll see with all the other comebacks.
And for as rookies, they're still holding it down. They've
well.
really blown my mind with how well they're doing.
I hope it's not hopefully we'll see them again soon.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yes, thank you so much for the comments, you guys. And last but not least, of course, we always check back to see. We have a poll
Who
every
won?
week
Yeah.
on Fuse.tv to see who was everyone's favorite release of the week. Last week, of course, we reviewed Blackpink's with their 2 comebacks. We also talked about Block B, Bastar's Make It Rain, and Taeyeon's 11:11. And the results are Blackpink with 73% of the votes ended up in number 1.
Okay.
Taeyeon pulled off a respectable 25%.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be
I
higher.
thought it was
to be
going to be
honest.
closer. Maybe like it'd be like 40-40.
Yeah.
Something
and
like
then
that.
Black B, Bastars coming in with a respectable 2%.
Always underrated, those Block B boys.
Underrated. Always underrated.
But I think I went for Taeyeon. Did you go for? Oh, you went for
I think I went for Blackpink. in the
right?
end. Yep.
Despite not really feeling any of the releases.
Just it was a tougher release week for me,
Right.
but I'm actually quite excited. In different ways for this week's episode. So
Yeah.
before we forget, as you guys know, hit us up in any different way you want. We're on Twitter. I'm at Jeff__Benjamin. Right now I have my H avatar, H for
right.
Hillary avatar. So look out for that.
Yeah, Hillary.
And then, and Tina, what's your handle so we know?
Oh, sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm like so tired and not with it.
She was up this morning voting.
Yeah, I
Tina
voted
was.
this morning, so I got up an hour earlier. And when I wake up, I'm not a morning person, so if I get up even earlier, like really messes me up. I'm like so tired. So yeah, my handle is hey_Tina with 3 A's.
Yes, and don't forget, leave a comment on Fuse.tv. There's a playlist of all the music we talk about. Our polls are there. Give us a rating on iTunes. We're so many different ways that you guys can get in touch. So thank you so much as always for listening. But let's get into this controversial episode, Tina.
Yes.
I want to either talk about, who kick us off. Who do you want to kick it off
Well,
with?
I was gonna kick it off with B.A.P because I
Let's
feel
do
like
it.
that's we hyped them up last episode,
We did.
got I feel like that's the group that people really talked a lot about on the TL.
Yes. That's who I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Too.
All right.
Let's get
let's
right
do
into
it.
it. And if
B.A.P.
you remember last week's episode, it was our deep cut actually talking about how the leader Bang Young-gook is not part of these promotions, even though being so heavily involved in the album due to panic attacks and anxiety. And we talked a little about mental health in the K-pop world. It's a great episode, great discussion. Check it out if you didn't.
Yeah.
But looking forward, here they are now with Skydive.
I'm glad you said Skydive because I almost said Skyfall, and that would have been like the GOT7 intro track, and then
Or the
people
James
would have
Bond
like,
movie.
or that. Either way, it would have been wrong. So
Yes.
again, sorry, I'm a little slow today.
Off their second full-length album, Noir.
Yes.
And let's just get right into it. So, you and I were even discussing about how, they came up with this 10-minute music video.
Right.
Really, going
Very
hardcore.
cinematic, like a short film, short movie type thing.
Yeah. But strictly, even looking at just the song, which is
Right.
only, half that short film. What'd you think of the song?
I didn't dislike it. It was one of those songs that kind of it reminded me of songs off of maybe like a Vicks album or something darker where the lyrics don't necessarily apply to any specific life situation, and it seems very dramatic, and I don't really know what the song's about.
That's interesting.
Because like I watched the video with like translations, and I'm like, everything sounds so ambiguous. Where it just sounds really dramatic, like Skyfall. It's like see what I did again. Skydive, I'm coming for you. Like we're gonna like explode. Like all these like really dramatic terms. And I don't know if it's just like something that's lost in translation for me. But I just came out of there with like, I don't know exactly what the song's about. So it didn't really resonate with me.
Yeah.
I think it just sounds like one of those like movie soundtrack songs where it's super, super dramatic. I wouldn't listen to it on an everyday basis. I know I say this a lot. I don't know where I would listen to certain songs. This isn't something that's very versatile to me. I just think it's very dramatic, and it's good for the way that they presented it, it seems like it should be paired with a very like dramatic visual,
right?
Because it's a very dramatic song,
which it is. But yeah, I'm feeling what you're saying too. In my opinion, this is very like, it's very quintessential B.A.P. They got this sort of like, it's a darker sound. It's very aggressive, hip hop oriented.
Right.
Which I think I'm very glad to hear from them. We were kind of, do you remember, That's My Jam was earlier this week, and we were a little, torn on that one.
Right.
And, we loved that I Feel Good song. That was a lighter.
That was so different. That's my thing. I'm just like,
and we digged that,
I liked it, but then is that telling me that I prefer that sound over this, which is not B.A.P, because they're all about like their warrior kind of concept and sound and being very aggressive and masculine. And I don't know if in the traditional sense, I mean, so I really don't know like what I prefer.
Right. No, I mean, this one, again, I at least liked this one a little more because, or at least, it felt more true to form for B.A.P. because, I thought they were coming with something aggressive, something darker, something like, in that world. And there was also a lot of interesting stuff going on, sonically. Like I liked in the chorus how there's like a lot of vocal layerings and there's that kind of like cool, it almost sounds like a plane, like zooming back, like about to crash, like that. That. And it almost sounds like a plane going like.
Right. It definitely, it did sound a little bit more intricate to me. This time around.
Right, which I think is them kind of finding more of their style, going a little, getting a little more artistic, having a little more creative. Being a little more creative with their sound. Sure. If they were trying out different styles beforehand, this is them kind of almost going back to that with, learning whatever they learned from the different styles this time, which I think is, interesting and to be applauded in its own way.
Now, I didn't actually look into this. Do you know who wrote and composed and produced this?
I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive Jungkook had a big hand in all this. But let's just confirm, and while we're doing that, I
wasn't able to listen to the rest of the album.
Well, and I know, and it's totally on my list to do because their first album, it was their first full-length album. It was the one that had like 1004 with like the Angel song and everything. That was a really good album. Like really, it was actually one of my favorite K-pop albums of that year because it was just really versatile, went through so many different sounds.
I think I only really heard the intro to this album, to Noir, since they did include a bit of that in the music video.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Bang Jungkook was a co-writer on the song.
Okay.
But yeah, he worked a lot with, he produced and co-wrote on different songs in the album. Zello's got a couple songwriting credits. Jung Up and has a couple producing and songwriting credits.
Wow, okay,
so,
yeah.
They're doing their thing. They're doing the thing. But
more respect.
Yes, but on the other hand, in my opinion, this whole really cool sound and concept got a little muddled with the long video.
Yeah.
Which, we are both on the same page that, it was a cinematic song, very much works in that style. But like at one point I was just like, oh, this has gotten so bloody and so, gangstery and just so like, very much in this world.
I feel like they could have done just as much in half the time.
Yes.
A lot of it was extremely redundant. I didn't know where it was going. The storyline also was very unclear. I was just like, everyone's just shooting at each other and it's just super dramatic. It was a little melodramatic for me. I'm like, I don't think I'm not trying to watch a K-drama right now. Like it's just, it was very confusing, and I think 10 minutes was excessive. It
was a little too much, a little too intense for me personally.
The opening sequence of him like shooting that old Ajashi in the head, and it was like huge, like blood splattering, like
Lots
he clearly shot him in the head. I'm like, okay, that was actually a little bit intense. Like your audience like doesn't, it kind of skews like younger, right? Like.
Right. Well, one would think, yeah. And, there's a very different kind of, if I would say if an American boy band had released that video, it would have been, very accepted very differently, But, there's different feelings about guns and shooting and, things like that in different parts of the world. They don't have, Korea doesn't have the gun issues that we have in America. So I think we were a little, maybe a bit triggered or,
I was just taken aback by how, I guess, explicit and forward they were with that.
And on one hand, they didn't hold anything back. So, on one hand, that's cool.
It's crazy to me that wasn't hit with any sort of censorship. And yet, like, Hyolyn standing on top of like a car with a traffic cone that's like a traffic violation, and like that had to be banned. I'm just like, what? Anyway,
what video was that from?
That was I think Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Oh, right, classic.
Something like that. I just remember being like, really? But I get it. Different regulations. Different rules.
I do agree that, maybe just have like an intro, maybe have a little like, transition moment where something dramatic happens and then just finish the song. I didn't exactly think either that it needed to be 10 minutes.
Right. It's like I didn't need to see him holding photos of a loved one dying and being in pain multiple times.
I was going to say it was multiple times.
Right. I was like, I get it. You're distraught. I get it.
And then when you think it's all over, someone comes back to life. And I'm like,
there's a lot of scuffling and shoving. I'm like,
oh, boy.
Okay, can we wrap this up? Like, y'all got to wrap it up. Like, I don't have time.
Right. So, it's ambitious. It's interesting to see, this group kind of get such big budget and so much support, after kind of a controversial rocky time with their label. But, it's their third release this year. My gosh.
That's very true, yeah.
So,
what did you think of the styling? Because some of the suits were questionable. Like, I like the dark, dark jackets, whatever. I thought they looked real slick. But then when they were in that warehouse, there was it would cut to them in like the kind of they had a bit of sheen on there. It was like a satiny kind of like purpley suits and stuff.
Yeah, it didn't leave a big impact on me. I can barely even remember.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't big on some of the styling. I thought it was fine for maybe half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of styling, there's been a little controversy going on, and I feel like we need to touch on this.
We should address it, yeah.
Yeah, some fans started noticing that on the member Jung-up, he had a tattoo, or, their big thing in K-pop is the fake tattoos, right? For whatever reason, sometimes they're there to look cute, sometimes they're there to look more, rugged or rough or something.
Just to add some aesthetic.
Yeah, something like this. But this one was unfortunately not too well thought out. There is a tattoo in Russian written on his hand with the Jewish slur, or basically what it translates to is, beat the Jews, Jews being sort of like a slur word, save Russia, which I have a lot of questions.
Right.
Where did they find this phrase?
Yeah, number one, where did they find this? Number two, how does this have anything to do with the concept of this video?
Yeah.
Other than I guess in wartime there's planes and bombings and fightings and I don't know. Fightings. I don't know.
It's like scary almost.
Also, number three, did you know what that said when you tattooed it or drew it on him for the tattoo? And if so, number four, why did you proceed with that decision? Who greenlit this?
There's no way that they just chose some random combination of Russian letters or something, know. I do think this unfortunately comes as sort of like a, unfortunate stereotype, Russian mobsters or Russian gang, in the James Bond 007 movies, it's always some, Russian gangster, for, unfortunately.
And they always exude toughness.
Yeah, exactly. Something very, harsh and aggressive, which is what they were clearly going for. It's totally a result of, Hollywood standards and, 007, how many times has it been some Russian mobster, or something
but they're not Russian.
Well, that's the thing. It's some weird skewed thing that became something that became almost representative to they needed to show toughness or gangsterness, you know,
Right.
via this, you know, tattoo. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like that's what the result was. It's like very off-putting and like concerning to me, especially.
I'm assuming that, what's his name? Jung-up?
Jung-up, yeah.
I don't think he had any idea.
I'm assuming he didn't request this specific
Yeah.
phrase.
I would
know?
like this phrase.
Yeah, it's very much, you know, a stylist overlooking or whatever.
Also, it's interesting to me that was just that one tattoo.
Right. You know, like
how did they decide to just have this one potentially, you know, controversial tattoo?
Right. And I haven't really heard any kind of response from B.A.P or TS Entertainment or anything like that yet, at least.
Right.
You know, it also kind of goes into, you know, it's vaguely related, but have you heard about, you know, how CL's kind of come under fire for
the
having,
Quran.
for featuring, you know, that verse that, you know, sang the Quran in her MTBD performances on the live, you know, but she did actually, you know, come out and say that was a mistake. You know, I've asked them, you know, I asked the tour manager to delete it and never, you know, to bring it up again. You know, the wrong version was sent over. And, you know,
I'm a little bit confused because, but yet, so it's in the background.
It's like a sample. Yeah, exactly.
Sample, right. So she's not, so I guess like maybe when she was performing it, she didn't realize that was gonna.
I guess not.
Or maybe, I don't know if
that was how it originally was released though, with
right.
like this sort of sample in the background.
Right.
So, yeah, you know, it's kind of, I just don't, you know, it's very interesting. You know, religion is such an important thing. You know, these are kind of, they're apples and oranges, but they're semi-related in my opinion.
For sure.
That like, you know, it's just sort of like an oversight of like sensitivity.
Right.
I don't know. It's
it is a culture where I'm making up the number, but it's roughly like 98% is homogenous. Yeah. And then you have that like 1 to 2% that maybe will call you out for something, but you're not in a society that really champions people, challenging, you know, the mainstream or making their voices heard. And it's, you know, you're just not exposed to a lot of woke cultures, I guess.
Right.
So it's like there's no one to challenge you in not appropriating other people's cultures.
Appropriating or even just using, you know, inappropriately, you know, appropriating because, and, you know, and that's what I think is kind of, you know, it's been something really interesting, at least, you know, for us to watch too, is just as K-pop becomes a little, you know, becomes more international and fans become more invested, you know, lots of, you know, Jewish fans, Muslim fans, you know, different people who all over the world who, you know, are watching these things and get disappointed by these things. This isn't the first, you know, sort of time we've seen something similar happen.
I think we talked about this on other episodes. Every few months, there's going to be something like this that comes up, which, you know, it's disappointing, but also doesn't surprise me given the big difference in Eastern and Western culture.
Right.
So.
And, you know, not to say that, you know, Western acts don't have similar issues.
No, and we do. We have all the time. Like, we're a mess over here too. But it's just, you know, it's just a matter of like how we address it, right?
Yeah.
And what the response is and how people approach the response.
And ideally, you know, it's a learning moment for everyone. You know, like we said, I'm going to hope that there's no malicious intent between, you know,
that it was purely ignorance. Like maybe at best, they maybe saw the tattoo on somebody. It was like, that looks really threatening or something. Right. Let me put that on, and like didn't really look into it, which is always dangerous. Like, I always ask people, why do you have a tattoo of something in a language that you don't understand or speak? Right. It's very mind-boggling to me.
It's very, you know, those, you know, because on one hand, you know, you never know if that,
and that's on your body. That's on you. You have to own up to that.
Right. And that, you know, with certain languages, even like, you know, if a tattoo artist, you know, flicks left instead of right, it can completely change the meaning. You know, just everyone, just please, PSA, be careful, like everything.
So it's just it just sucks that like that, you know, kind of tainted a little bit of the highly anticipated release, but you know, the video is still doing extremely well from what I last saw.
Yeah. So I just, maybe there'll be a little editing, hopefully. But
Yeah.
let us know what you guys think, of course, what you think of, the comeback, but overall, about the tattoo controversy and, just in general sensitivity. Because, I think we both think it's an important topic to talk about.
For sure.
But something else. Let's get all the controversy out of the way
Yeah,
before we
let's do
move
it.
ahead. Let's get right into Mamamoo.
Mamamoo with the most difficult
Yeah, you were
comeback
practicing.
title. I practiced and I still can't say it.
We'll both Décalcomanie.
Oh my God. He's like Cabana. Okay.
Copacabana.
Décalcomanie.
Yes, which we're both very confused about, the reasoning behind the meme. We've done a little bit of research. Strictly, that word, which is also, it's now more so known as decal, the type of it, but it's a technique which engravings and prints are, transferred to pottery and other things like that.
Like different mediums.
Yeah. So, if anything, it's kind of like, I sort of took this as like, maybe they're referring, there's a big emphasis on kissing, which we'll get to in just a moment. Maybe it's transferring a
because
kiss
I was
or
having
love.
difficulty understanding the meaning of that word in the context of this song.
Yes.
I was like, great, this is the French word for blah, blah, blah. Now, what does that mean in your song? So that's a very interesting take that you just...
Yeah. Let's get a little into the song. Like, do you want to get into a little bit about the meaning first and foremost?
Yeah. I actually don't know where I'm going with the meaning.
Well, okay, because just first and foremost, Mamamoo has been, sort of like the soulful breakout, group. Last year they kind of, they had a moment where they kind of broke through, and then this year has sort of been their breakout year. And then, they came out with their first full-length album earlier this year with You're the Best, which we both really liked, I think. And now they're back with this new single, this new EP. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, just first and foremost, the first thing that drew me in first and foremost was the vocals and just how, strong they are sounding on that chorus. Like, oh my gosh, they just sound great. They sound fierce. On one hand, it sounded like I heard a lot of other girl groups in this song. I heard Secret, I heard Ailey.
I definitely heard both of those.
Yeah.
That's so true. It's
I
very
heard
accurate.
a lot, it's very much that wanting to be, that throwback soulful, group.
I definitely got like a very strong retro jazzy vibe, but not so much to the point where it was like aggressively like trying too hard to sound jazzy or something.
Right.
So it did definitely give me strong Ailey and Secret vibes combined.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think it's not as like I want to say poppy as Secret, because Secret songs were very like
hooky
and like Madonna, like repeating the same kind of syllable. So it was very, poppy and catchy and stuck in your head. This one was, I think, a little bit more easy listening, if that makes sense. Like,
no, totally.
It's a much more versatile song. It's a lot more complex.
Yeah.
I like the overall tempo of it.
Yeah. And
obviously it's upbeat, but I wouldn't call it like a dance song.
No, and it's very like well, I mean, they literally are saying, I was about to say it's feel good, but they're yelling, you're singing about how, I feel good.
Right.
I like that it has this sort of empowering tone to it, like it's about, what something I always liked about Mamamoo is that, it wasn't just, they don't just like fall for a guy, or they don't just, sing about being heartbroken. Lots of times they have different takes on sort of love and stuff like that.
And my takeaway from this song is they had a dilemma at first, and they were struggling to figure out what they wanted to do with this guy that they have feelings for. or is feeling something for. And at the end, I think they just kind of throw caution to the wind, and they're like, F it, like, let's do this.
Good.
Let's do this. You know, like, I like how I feel around you.
Right. Which you know, is a very empowering thing, you know,
Yeah,
like
just
forgetting.
to able to make that decision and just do it.
Yeah, forgetting about, like, you know, like all the external factors and just
Right.
going off of your feelings
Right.
and everything. And I think that's a good
Instinct,
message.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a good message to get out there, and I love that. And
Yeah.
you know, they sound per usual so powerful.
They sounded so good. Like, Hwasa opened that shit, and
Yeah.
I was like, damn, like, she sounds so good. And she, like, looked good, too. She looked amazing.
She killed it. I mean, they all look really, really good, I think. Hwasa in particular, I got a shout out for doing even a little bit of rapping on the bridge, because
Right.
her and Moonbyul, I think I'm pronouncing it right,
Yeah.
are kind of, they at one moment have a little like switch off on the
Right.
raps, and I was like, yes, like I love seeing like when, you know,
For
someone
sure,
can
for
kind
sure.
of bring something a little different too.
I think I like Hwasa's tone the most, and like in her voice in the group. I thought Solar looked gorgeous. I
She
think
looked
she,
incredible, yeah.
yeah. I think she and Hwasa really like killed it for me.
Yeah. You know, I loved the styling. I loved the looks, you know, and I gotta, you know, if we want to get right into, the video too, I loved, you know, it really pushed to me this empowering feeling. Like, I loved how, you know, there was a lot of romance in it, but I loved, you know, in the chorus when they're singing in the mirror to one another,
Yes.
and they're looking at each other.
They're
which
mirroring each other essentially.
Yeah, which
So like
is-
one member was on one side of the mirror,
Yeah.
and she was dancing into the mirror, looking at herself in the mirror, and then the camera was swooped to the other
Yeah.
side, and it would be another member,
And I almost felt
dressed
like-
the same as
Right.
that person.
I felt like that was like saying, like, you know, we're empowering ourselves,
Right.
you know, like we're not doing this
And we're
for a
supporting
man.
each other.
Yeah, we're
Right.
not we're not looking at a guy. We're not, you know, we're doing
Right.
this for ourselves, for each other, you
Right.
know, which
and
I
I thought it was
love.
really dope that they went part of the time with a bit of a more androgynous look.
Yeah.
A couple of them, or I guess, did they all at one point don the suits?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Okay.
And then, you know, that was almost, in my opinion, a little bit of a throwback to their, I think it was the
Right.
Oh I
Right,
Yeah
right, right,
video,
right, yeah.
where they kind of, you
Because
know,
I forgot that. I guess
Yeah.
like that's kind of like their thing now.
Great
like
video.
Like
I
the
loved
sexy
it.
androgynous
so
manly
for
look.
it. You know, it wasn't so before they were really, you know, cosplaying almost,
Right,
or
right,
dressing up
right.
as men. This was
Right.
like, we are still women, but we
Oh,
are,
for sure, for sure.
looking hot, and I love that look.
Yeah,
for
like they still
sure.
kept it like sleek, chic, sexy, sultry. I loved it.
Love those dance scenes. Yeah. So cool. Yeah, really, like, you know, their visuals have always been really good. You know, I can't even think of like a video of theirs I haven't liked recently.
Right.
But of course there is also a little bit of controversy in this video too. Oh my gosh. So some people were having, there's a little interlude
Right.
where they actually that's actually, I love this. I need to still get more into the EP, but that's they get into the what do you call it? The intro track of their
Right.
new Memory
Right.
EP.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really
I
like
thought it was
nice
gorgeous.
and jazzy.
Yeah,
it
gorgeous.
like, it made me automatically,
The
'cause I was
visuals
like,
in the video, minus what we're about to go into, everything else was like sensory overload, which I think they like really pushed that concept. But you could see like what looked like flowers exploding, and then
Yeah.
like the
Oh.
random squeeze of lemon, just
cherries popping.
Cherries popping. I'm just like, all right, I kind of get what they're going for here.
Yeah. I mean, the cherries popping. I was like, hey, okay. Now
I was like, I thought it was a very creative way to kind of
Yeah.
imply certain things
Oh, I
that
loved
might be
it.
going on in the video
Yeah.
without being like explicit.
Right. And, you know, there was sort of this almost, you know, there's some blindfolds giving us
Right.
some 50 Shades of Grey
Right.
vibes. But with
But
that,
nothing like super risque.
nothing super risque except for this one
Except for
moment.
this part.
Well, not risque per se, more controversial.
Right.
But, you know, at one point, all the girls kind of take control of the man that they've been, you know, flirting with, and, you know, pull him in for a kiss or grab him or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then for some reason, Solar's scene kind of sees her. Well, at least in the original version, it's been edited since, but the man is sort of, you know, pushing on her to kiss her, and
Right.
she is actually
like
seen
getting a bit rougher. Yeah.
and she's actually seen pushing him away, and you see her hand at one point, give up,
Right.
struggle, and
there
then
was
give
struggle
up.
involved in that elevator scene.
Right. And, a lot of fans, I saw an automatic response to this too, was, saying, calling it, almost date assault, sexual
Right.
assault, using the word assault.
Like romanticizing
Yes,
a
exactly.
girl being like forced into something she doesn't want to do, but
Right.
but with like under the cloak of like
Of this 50.
being in like the heat of the moment or something, like using that
Yes.
almost as like a cloak for that, or like a justification for that.
Right. And, she actually, Solar did actually give a statement about it, or she actually gave a little more insight to it. So it was during this press conference, she talked about this scene, and she said, I tried a kiss scene in the music video this time. I didn't actually do it, but pretended. But then she said, like, I was so embarrassed and abashed at it. I was going crazy. I wanted to hide. So she didn't exactly, say it was anything, bad. Was trying to say almost that, it's me trying something new and, something a little different. But there didn't seem to be exactly, an admittance that anything was weird or anything was
Yeah, it doesn't
bad.
sound like she even really touched upon
No, it was
what
more
fans
about-
found controversial. I
Yeah.
don't think she's aware.
Yeah, exactly. And then, she said, she's on We Got Married, that show. And
Right.
she said, I had to do it because it's my work, right? And, Eric Nam will understand and, things
Oh
like
my
that.
God. It's like not all of that is fake anyway.
Yeah.
Get
But
out.
anyway, there clearly was some type of response, that they realized, because they did take the video down and remove that scene. And now it's much more vague and,
Right.
seemingly just romantic, period.
Right.
But, I think a lot of fans were a little disappointed that, and me too personally, that because Mamamoo has been this group, the very empowering, very
Right.
much, focused on, not just, drooling over
Right.
the love interest. They've
Right.
done so
Not
many
just
cool
giving,
things.
Giving in and appearing weak.
Yeah, like they even the song too, it's I feel good, I want to, it's dangerous, but I feel
Right.
good. And
I'm calling the shots here.
yeah, and that almost kind of, goes a little, off, it goes a little, against.
I mean, it's like 180 from
Yeah.
whatever it is. Yeah, like this whole concept.
Right,
It's very-
I would have wanted to see, her follow suit, with the others, that they went for it. They were the
Right.
ones going for the kiss. They were the ones being dangerous and, jumping on this guy,
Right.
for lack of a better word. So I do admit I was a little disappointed by that. And, I looked a little more into it, actually. And this actually isn't the first time they've sort of been in sort of this sort of heated water with it, because some fans were even saying in the Oh I Yeah video,
Right.
Solar tries to kiss Moonbyul when she's in this hospital, and she's unconscious. There's another scene where Hwasa tries to force herself on Solar in an airplane. For some reason, this seems to be sort of a little like theme in some of their videos.
Being
and I don't-
overly forceful.
Yeah, and I don't know
When it's uncalled for.
Right. And that one slipped by me initially too, but now it's sort of being brought up to light, and fans really have said so much that it got edited.
Right.
Which I think is, interesting to say the least. But I don't know. I mean, on one hand, I don't want it to take away
Maybe
from.
an overuse of aggression.
Yeah, or-
in an attempt to seem
To
more
seem empowered. That's
dominant,
interesting.
not dominant, but like
Empowered and-
powerful. Maybe.
Yeah, that's
I'm
interesting.
not sure, but it is obviously the dynamic definitely changes. The narrative definitely changes
Yeah.
when it's a man doing that to a woman, right?
sure,
And
for sure.
almost having them like co-sign that through that video.
Right. And, like, we're in this day and age of, like, post 50 Shades of Grey and all that. And, like, on one hand, we need to, like, really realize what's being, shown to us and what's
Right.
really what that really says about, the larger picture and everything
Right.
like that. And so, it leaves a bit of a sour taste in
Right.
my mouth, I gotta say.
But I feel like
So,
they handled it fairly swiftly.
yeah,
It was re-uploaded.
Right,
Granted,
exactly.
the original one's still out there, but
It'll
it's like
never
there's nothing
not
you
be
can
out
do.
there,
So
right? Even if they, remove the tattoos on John
Right,
Upson,
right, right,
that
right.
photo's always going to be
Right.
there. So,
other than that, though, I felt like this release was solid.
yeah.
Like I love the song.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. I think it's doing, okay on the charts. I wonder if maybe this controversy is sort of overshadowing them a bit, but real quickly, I don't know. Let's this is a plea for everyone to do better, okay? Cuz now let's get to our non-problematic fave.
It's a little. This might be a little problematic. Teeny bit.
I
teeny
think I
bit.
know what you're getting at.
Teeny bit.
I think I know what you're getting
Miss
at. but
Hyolyn.
Miss Hyolyn, who we talked about, who we checked in with a couple weeks ago when she
Yes.
did some pre-release, but now she is here. Wow. What am I trying to say? Full comeback for this first mini album she's ever put out. She put out a full-length album, but here she is now with Paradise.
Yes.
And just first and foremost, I don't know, the song, well, I don't want to sound
Brass at its
brass.
most intense, right? I don't think I've heard a hook that was just like the brass and going
Well,
like, "Nyeh." I don't even know.
Well, you remember Hannah. Here's the thing.
But there was other things happening.
You're right, actually.
Like production wise, it was just like they just let that fly and there was like nothing else happening.
Yeah, so we've kind of seen some of our, favorite K-pop girls go, with the solo stuff. A lot of them were embracing more of the EDM side this year. I don't know what it is about this year, but everyone, if they were doing R&B or ballads or whatever, they really went EDM this year. And I thought this was going to go more Taeyeon style. If she was going to, I remember seeing the teaser, seeing so many awesome looks, it looked very fun,
Yeah.
But it went more Hana than Taeyeon
Oh, yeah.
to me. And
She went like full on like thought.
right.
Very thoughty. But I guess like the thing with Hyolyn and Sistar is like they've always kind of bordered that kind of like thought, not thought, like, sort of.
THOT, by the way.
Right. Yeah, like she went like full thought.
Yeah.
So
And which I was kind of, at least a little surprised by, because I thought at the very least, when this breakdown sort of came, every time I was waiting for her maybe to just, let it rip and let some
Right.
belts come and ad lib
Right.
over all that. But she mostly let the music do the talking.
this song was extremely basic to me. It was so basic, and I was disappointed that she really just kind of sold out and went the
You think she
easy
sold
route.
out?
I think she just went the easy like hooky route, which like I get, like she has the luxury to do that now that like she's pretty established. So if she wants to
proven
like
herself, yeah.
if she wants to do that, because she knows that's like a safe spot for her. Like she knows
Sure.
that she has the body to do that. She moves well. Like the moves were fluid in the video. This is like, it's
Yeah.
kind of like what like people kind of see, not only know her as, but they know that she is good at that kind of look and sound, I guess.
Right.
And like she's already delivered singles that showed off her vocal ability and her range, and
That's a
she
good
doesn't
point.
have to do that again.
Right. That's the thing. is
Because
that,
like if she did, we would complain like, oh my gosh, she's always doing stuff like Lonely and Stalker and Love Like This. It's so predictable.
Right.
But like with this one, I was just like, I don't know if I love it, or I definitely don't love it. I don't know if I like it or if I am going to write it off.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of, very much thinking, on one hand, it's true. She's proven herself. She can have fun.
Right.
Everyone knows her at this point. She did that full-length solo album, which we both were gushing over last
Yeah,
2 episodes
I love that
ago.
album so much.
But here, maybe it's, if anything, it's her having fun,
Yeah.
trying something a little different,
Right.
which, you can't knock her for. I gotta say, I've said this for a while now, that she reminds me a lot of Mariah Carey, not just voice-wise, but also that I think Mariah Carey lots of times likes to have fun and likes to do different styles too.
Right.
And I think Hyolyn's like that too. Mariah has her hip-hop side, Mariah has her R&B side, she has
Right.
her pop side, she has her playful, fun, crazy outfit side, she has her
Right.
get on a ballad and, you know,
Right.
wear a gorgeous dress side. So, and I feel like Hyolyn is like that a lot of times too.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
this was like her just having fun with it, I think. You know, there
Right.
were so many fun looks in the video.
She
So
looks
many
great,
she
yeah.
she looked amazing, you know, lots of just, you know, working with what she's got, you know, lots
Right.
of cool you know,
I love the
outfits.
queen shirt
Oh,
that she was wearing.
yeah, I love the pink looks. You know, the even the contacts, which can be hit or miss in a K-pop video.
I don't know how I
thought-
feel about that.
Oh, really? I thought she was rocking them that time.
don't
you
know if
know,
I like that.
contacts can be very
I'm like,
hit or miss.
sometimes when you do a little too much, like all that, because she loves her flashy bling. She her.
Oh, I see.
Obviously, her hair was like lighter, and then she had the light. I'm like, and then like a lot of color happened. I'm like, so
Yeah.
after a while, it can get a little tacky.
Right.
But I don't think it was. I don't think she crossed that line into tackiness
Yeah.
in this video. I will say I could have done without all the twerking.
Oh, yeah.
I
come
thought
on,
like
guys.
I don't really
Twerking's
like
over.
it when I see like Asians and white folks. I do like go really aggressive with the twerking. I just felt a little. It made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, the twerking needed to end like a long time ago.
Oh yeah, like
but-
it's fine. Like it's so subjective. I don't want to be like, what's the right amount of twerking? But
Yeah.
it's like there were certain times I was like, you don't need to be doing that.
Right. So, yeah, but you know, I am, you know, excited to get into the album a little more. You know, see what else she's bringing.
I listened to the EP,
Oh,
and
you
I
did?
will also remember how we said "Love Like This" felt safe.
Yes.
That's to me is actually the best song on the album, which is kind of my way of saying I'm a little bit disappointed with the album. I actually love that song now, "Love Like This." It's really grown on me. I love
Yeah.
it. I will say, compared to her previous solo project, it does not measure up.
And you know, I almost wonder if like, you know, she had gone with this, you know, in the summer when everything's a little more
This
carefree.
is so summery, like Paradise. I'm like, girl, we're going to
Yeah,
fall.
it's
It's about
get-
to be winter.
Yeah, it almost makes me think, you know, maybe they should have flip-flopped. You know, Sistars, you know, I like that. Could have worked, you know, I think
A little bit
nicer
better during this time.
with the
yeah.
fall, you know, winter sounds, you know, because they did have, you know, it was a little more of a warmer, you know,
Mm-hmm.
rockier sound. And maybe, you know, let Hyolyn have like, you know, your banger, you know, in the
Right.
summer, and then I don't know. So I'm a little confused, a little, you know,
Right.
maybe a little bit underwhelmed, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Hyolyn comment's dead on. I mean, so many people was like, why does this seem like a Hyolyn song?
Right. And you know,
And Hyolyn, that girl, you know, she can't sing. So I'm just like, this is not the right, like, level she should be on. So,
right, which is a little confusing.
I mean,
but,
don't
you
get me
know,
wrong, I love Hyolyn, but it's just like, the
Right.
direction was it was an interesting decision creatively.
Interesting decision.
Yeah.
I would say that's sort of my my takeaway too. All of this is very interesting.
The theme of this week is that was interesting.
that was interesting.
Yeah.
So, well, what would you say is your favorite release of the week then?
Definitely Mamamoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
They really, really surprised me because I was never really like a fan of theirs per se. But this single in particular definitely
has
caught my
hooked you?
attention.
All right. I'll probably go with them too. Given everything we spoke about today,
Right.
all the wows, man, I'm gonna need a drink after this episode.
I know, right? Like, eh. Speaking of drinks, I still got to get you your soju.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait till. Yes. But I'll probably go with Mamamoo as well, despite some little, you know, the music, in my opinion, outweigh. You know, they clearly made up for the, you know, they've backtracked on the issue, which was
right.
my biggest sort of, you know, hang up on the song. Yeah. So.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, we're in agreement. So let us know what you guys want.
Yay.
Be sure to vote on Fuse.tv. Don't forget about the poll because,
Yes.
you know, you guys be sure to support your fave. And, you know, you can vote as many times as you want, too. That we get hundreds, thousands of votes. So it's very
Yeah.
cool to see who wins. But let's get quickly into our charts. It's been an intense episode. Let's see. As you guys know, we check out the top 5 K-pop songs on US iTunes right now, and let's see who's just kind of rocking the charts right now. Lots of potential to get into. So coming in at number 5, this was last week's number 1 actually. It's "Hey Mama" by EXO's first subunit CBX. That's done quite well in America. You know, it's EXO. They're quite popular here, but
I I don't like that song at all. I don't know, man.
Really? You know, it was done by London Noise, who did Taeyeon's Y and Red Velvet's last singles and things like that. So
Right.
or they did Dum Dum and things like that. So great to see them still around despite Tina's reviews. Number 4 is 11:11 by Taeyeon.
Yay! I love that song.
Still loving
Love
it.
it, love it, love
still
it.
still rocking it. Number 3 is I'm like TT, just like TT. Ah. I can't stop bopping to this. I gotta say,
no comment.
it continues to grow on me. I continue to love what Twice is doing. I don't know. They're just so exciting to me. I
No
can't.
comment.
I can't.
I'm like scrolling through my IG feed right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Number 2. I'm just gonna call it Decal because it's Mamamoo.
Are you serious? Oh my god!
Is this their first entry on like
I think so.
I don't usually, they're usually, I could see them in like the top 10 and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
this is, I guess America's really feeling this because they're right there and only second to Skydive by B.A.P.
Okay.
Who and B.A.P performs quite well in America.
Well,
so
that's dope that we covered 2 artists that are 1 and 2.
there
this
they
week.
are. And shout out, Hyolyn is at number 6 right now.
Oh,
She's really
okay.
close, okay?
Okay.
But yeah, lots of B.A.P songs are doing quite well. So yeah, that's awesome. And last but not least, as we get into our deep cut section, we actually got a request for this from dedicated listener, What Will Said, who wanted us to kind of, do a little That's So Raven and predict, the upcoming Mama Awards, the Mnet Asian Music Awards.
Yes.
His comment in particular was some of these Mama Awards nominees, though, he particularly called out SF9 Pentagon. They haven't even finished taking down their debut stage yet, which will be in.
He always delivers some shady ass tweets.
We love it. We love the shade. We're always living for the shade. Just kidding. But we're going to look at the major topics. I think, a fun sort of angle that we wanted to kind of do was who will win and who should win.
Oh, wait, is that what it was? Shit. Okay.
Well,
I definitely only circled who I think will win because it is a
okay.
popularity contest, right? For anyone who doesn't know, Mama's a huge year-end award show. Usually who wins is like the ones from the bigger labels, let's be honest.
Right.
So, all right, well, it's fine. I mean, I pretty much know who I like.
And so far, as of the taping right now, they already have almost 24 million votes right now.
Crazy.
The show is on December 2nd. It gets filmed in Hong Kong.
Because it's fan voting, right?
Yeah,
so it's just whoever has the biggest fan bases.
Right. But you
keeping it real here.
You can be strategic, things like that. So but they don't reveal the winners until the end.
Right.
But we're going to check out the major topics right now. So let's get right into it. So
Let's do it.
First up is Best New Male Artist. Up for is NCT 127, SF9, Astro, KNK, and Pentagon. Right off the bat, I got to say, not thrilled with many of these artists.
Of them.
Who will win? I think NCT 127 is going to win. They're from SM. They have, they're the only group here that is from one of the big 3.
Right.
Who would I like to see win? I'd love to see Astro win. Astro is from Santiago. I saw them at KCON Los Angeles. Really cute group. Seemed like a really nice group of guys. I would love to see them break out and just do something really cool.
I guess who I think should win is also NCT 127. I thought that
you mean who will win? Oh, who also? You like that song a lot.
Fire Truck. I do like Fire Truck. I thought what was it, like Seventh Sense or something?
Seventh Sense.
Sense. That was a really interesting track too. I thought they delivered some really interesting sounds.
Right.
And they actually left an impression on me, which honestly in today's day and age when there are so many new debuts, I don't have much time to really get into artists the way that I used to. So I actually do like them. It's just unfortunate that for Best New Artist, a couple of them they're really, really from small labels. I don't think a lot of people know who SF9 is. I'm not really familiar with them.
Yeah, that's FNC's new boy band, new pop boy band.
And like we said earlier, Pentagon just debuted.
And it's true, these are very, very new groups.
Right.
So yeah.
So yeah, NCT 127.
That's you?
Yep.
All right. Sorry, one second. I'm having a little trouble. All right, so the next one is I'm so sorry. Hold on one second. I'm having a little trouble with my well, let's get what are the nominees for best new female artists?
For best new female artist, we have Blackpink, Gugudan, Pobagan 4. I don't know. Pobagan 4. I don't know who that is.
Huh.
IOI and WJSN, otherwise known as Cosmic Girls.
Yes. So you guys know I'm still loving my IOI girls.
Love IOI.
I gotta give it to them.
That's for who you want to win?
That's who I want to win, yes.
Okay.
But and who do I think should win? You know,
or will win?
Right. Who will win? You know, I feel like it's going to be a Blackpink situation. Yeah. You know, I think, you know, they have the YG stands behind them. I think
I agree.
That's going to be a big one. You know, I do have to give a shout out. This is a group that only recently kind of grew on me. WJSN. I'm just realizing how impressive it is that they have found ways to make 13 girls, you know, kind of work.
For sure.
You know, their formations, I'm just really impressed by the formations and all the stuff they've done on the live stage. Yeah, I gotta say, but who do you think should
once
win?
again, my who should win and who I think will win are the same. I think Blackpink will win. I do really like them. I think they're fresh and they sound good and they're very trendy, and that's pretty much YG in a nutshell, right? So, and they have a lot of fans. So I do think they will win.
Nice. All right, now we're going to get into best male group overall.
Okay, let's do it.
So we got EXO, BTS, Infinite, SHINee, iKON, and Block B. Who should win? I just think it was BTS's year, 100%.
Right.
I think, you know, we've talked so much about their accomplishments, you know, not even, you know, doing that compilation album, but then this new album was just very stunning in my opinion. I would really like to see, I think this is their year.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a very good assessment. I agree with you. I think they should win.
Yeah. But who will win? You know, EXO just has that huge fan base, you know.
They have consistently taken their categories. Like there have been categories where they beat Big Bang.
Yeah. I think BTS is going to give them a run for their money this year. It's going to be close. This is going to be like really close. Yeah. I think this year for sure. You know, but if anything, I would just, you know, I do think it's if this was a year for BTS, this is the year, you know?
For sure. Yeah, it was really tough because like I don't really know how to assess the Korean netizens because BTS always seems like they do so well internationally,
and they're
but
underrated.
I really don't know if that can even compare to EXO's popularity in Korea.
Right. No.
Not that EXO is obviously very popular internationally, but EXO also has that huge pull in China.
Yeah.
So that would like obviously, you know,
right, and
skew it a little bit. So.
Yeah, and you know, Mama, it is based in Asia. You know, this isn't like, you know, the YouTube Music Awards or something like that, you know. Right. So BTS that international fandom is really gonna have to come hard if they want to win
for
that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same picks for me.
Cool.
For best male.
Now, best female group, we got Mamamoo, Twice, Red Velvet, Wonder Girls, and G-Friend.
I have a question first.
Yes.
So I should have asked this before we started, but do they only assess releases from this year? Oh, wait, it's not from an academy, so who the hell cares? Okay, so it doesn't matter.
I think it's kind of like whoever released this year. Yeah, like kind of like who's been trendy
because
like
Wonder Girls, they released one song and it did well, and then they're kind of just like, man, like they're not doing anything. But
right,
and then they're also they're also a veteran. Everyone else is fairly new.
Right, which on my hand, you know, like I kind of want to say I'm leaning towards choosing Wonder Girls as who should win because, you know, to come back to not only, you know, last year they did, you know, successfully come back, but they came back here with one of the biggest singles of the year, you know, really established, prove that they're, you know, they're
and they tried something new.
Yeah, and you know, they you know, they just prove that they're here to stay.
Right.
I would like to say that, you know, if the Wonder Girls have not won a Best Female Group ever. I would like to say that they should win this year.
Why do you keep copying me?
Because we have flawless taste.
Wonder Girls, I do think should win.
Who will win, though? I feel like this is another, these SM groups do so well on these votes. Red Velvet, they're going to help Red Velvet a lot. But twice last year, if you remember, won Best Female Group.
Best New Artist.
Best Female.
Yeah.
Best New Female Artist last year. And, that fandom is really, really strong, too.
Right.
Are they enough to go up against an SM fandom? I'm not sure. But I feel like it's going to be between Twice and Red Velvet, even though I think G-Friend has a lot of fans too.
Compared to Twice and Red Velvet, hell no. I think Twice is gonna win.
You think Twice is gonna win?
Yeah, their fans scare me.
I'll say, well, we're both scared of them.
Yeah, they're very scary.
Then I'll say Red Velvet just to vary it up a little. Who will win? Because I'm just scared of that SM fan base has me shook. It's true.
But Twice definitely came out with some serious like chart bangers this year.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
I think they really, really leveled up this year. So
yes, for sure.
The fandom has also, I'm sure, increased like exponentially. So I'm gonna go with Twice for who will win.
Nice. Now just Best Male Solo Artists.
All right, we got Park Hyo-shin, Psy, Zico, Crush, and Im Chang-jung, whom I am not familiar with.
Who should win? We've loved everything from Crush this year. I think it was a standout year for him. He tried different things in addition to giving people what he liked. Oh, Tina's glowing right now. I gotta say, this was for sure his year. I think for sure he totally deserves to win.
Agreed.
And, not to say that, Zico had a strong year too.
What did he release? Wasn't he just like featured on things?
Well, he did. If you remember,
If You're Not Me, I Am You, or something
and then
like that.
the Luna song too.
I just like butchered that song title. Sorry if I flipped it around or something.
But I loved it. I thought that was a really strong release too. And so we were both on agreement that Crush should win. But who will win? I feel like Psy still has that power.
Really?
Even if he didn't. Has he even released anything this year? I guess technically you could say Daddy was part of this release year.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I mean, Zico is still really popular as well. So maybe it'll end up going to Zico.
I mean, Crush did win like last year for what? Best New Artist?
Oh, he might have won Best New Male or something.
Right, Best New Male Solo. So I don't know. So I'm going to go with him again for... So I was trying to keep it objective, but I honestly don't see Psy taking it, only because I feel like his I don't see the people who vote as they don't, their age doesn't skew towards Psy.
Yeah. But I feel like Zico is still very...
He is very popular. That's
Psy
true.
aside, Zico, he, dated
I was about to say,
point.
He's more relevant.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if he's relevant via like gossip sites or music sites. It's like he's just more relevant.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a chance and say Crush for who will win.
I'll say Zico for now.
All right, that's fair.
And then we got Best Female Artist. We have... You want to introduce them?
Yeah. Baekhyun, Ailey, Yihai, Changwon-ji, I don't know who that is.
That's
and
Eunji from A-Pink.
Oh, I didn't know her last name was Jung. Okay, sorry. I always just refer to her as Eunji. Okay.
Right.
All right.
So who should win? Ailey... I'm a little torn between Ailey and Taeyeon. Ailey, I think, both of them actually show different sides of themselves musically without straying from, the most important part, their most impressive talent, which is their voice. Mm-hmm. I want to root for the underdog in Ailey, just coming from a smaller company, of course, I just remember seeing her at KCON, kill it a cappella, she just did. It was just so exciting to see her do so well.
And Home was dope to see her bring that edge. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So I want to say who should win. Let's give it to Ailey this year.
Okay.
What about you?
Taeyong.
Yeah.
You know, I loved like all her releases except for Rain. I mean, even Rain wasn't bad. It's just like a little too mellow for me.
Yeah.
Everything else was solid. Like she has
Right.
continuously impressed me, and I never thought I would say that about Taeyang.
And I think she's gonna win, to be honest.
I do too. I feel like I like for the most part, who I think should win will win, but I don't want to make it sound like, oh yeah, I like know what's gonna happen. Like, you know, but I don't know. Maybe I just like maybe I'm super mainstream myself. I don't know.
I think our next topic is best music video, right?
Sure.
And in there, the categories are BTS Blood, Sweat, and Tears, Got in Carnival, The Last Day, Wonder Girls, Why So Lonely, Dean, Bonnie, and Clyde, and Whistle by Blackpink. Who should win? I mean, remember how good that Got in video is?
Yeah.
I loved it. I remember, like, you know, and if there was ever, you know, well, unfortunately, she wasn't nominated in Best Female and, you know, things like that. So I'm actually going to say that, you know, this is her category to take. You know, I did love that Wonder Girls video. It was so much fun. And, like, I loved all the visuals.
But the art direction on Kaiying's was just flawless.
Yeah, no,
Beautiful.
Totally. And so much, you know, I see the little teaser photo and I'm like, yep, I totally remember that.
Right.
You know, Whistle was good. Blood, Sweat, and Tears was good. None of these videos are bad, I will say. But
I will say it's interesting that out of Dean's catalog, they chose Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Like I thought like D Half Moon was really dope.
Right.
You know,
and more of the breakout song for him.
Right.
Anyway.
So that's very interesting. But you know, recognition for Dean is always great in my book. I agree. I'm gonna go with Guying for Carnival.
Nice.
In terms of who I think will win, I think Blackpink's gonna win.
Really? I think this is BTS's for the taking. I think the fans see like, okay, we don't have an EXO here, we don't have like a Girls' Generation here. Here's our time to make sure we win this one.
Okay.
That's what
I guess
I'm
it
feeling.
maybe is ambitious of me to think that a rookie will take this one. Actually, maybe I'll switch. Oh shoot, I don't know. I'm gonna say a tie between Blackpink and Wonder Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who will win?
Yeah.
All right, that's respectable. And then we got the final two categories. These are kind of like the overall category. This is Artist of the Year.
Question.
Yes.
Weren't we also going to do Best Band Performance and Best Rap
Did I forget
Performance?
one? I'm sorry.
Oh, those are like also the
You're right.
more specific
Those
categories.
are good. Yeah, these are more specific too. Best Band Performance. Let's get right into that.
All right. We got 10 centimeters with What the Spring.
What the Spring?
CM Blue with You're So Fine.
Yeah.
Day 6 with Letting Go. FT Island Take Me Now. And I don't know who this what this group is. Cookcaston?
Yeah.
Cookcaston with Pulse.
I think they're
indie. I mean, obviously I've not heard that song, but I think that, well, you know, I'm going to always root for Day 6. I think they are seriously so freaking talented and their songs are amazing and they just really tug at your heartstrings, their songs. So I'm going to go with Day 6, Letting Go for who should win.
Me too.
Yay!
In addition to, because I want the big three to see that a band can make it, that a band can be important, can win awards.
Sure, yeah.
Because they're doing something awesome, I think. And it came from JYP, you know.
Sure.
I want the majors to say, okay, hey, oh my gosh, like we can have kids playing instruments and writing their own music.
Right.
Who do I think will win? I don't know. I feel like we can't count out those FNC groups. FT Island and CN Blue.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I've just seen a lot of support for them recently, and I feel like this isn't the most competitive category.
Right.
That it could be. I feel like it's going to be one of them too.
I definitely think CM Blue has a really good shot at taking it. I'm going to go with CM Blue. I also I believe, like, looking back on previous years, they've taken a few categories. So I know that the fan base is there.
They're ready for it.
So I definitely think that they are a force to be reckoned with. So
hey,
gonna go with CM Blue.
There we go. I'll go with FT Island just to vary things up. And then next is Best Rap Performance.
We also have best collaboration too.
Oh gosh, I forget
All
that
these
one too.
like smaller categories.
Yes.
Best rap performance: Gary, Lonely Night, Doki, Illusion, Sonny and Mad Clown with Sour Grapes, CJM and BY with Puzzle, Zico with I Am You, You Are Me.
Right. So first and foremost, I love that Zico song, but that's not a rap performance. Wasn't he like?
Right.
Isn't he like more like singing on it?
Yeah.
Which
I don't
little-
know. They're probably like, oh, he's a rapper, and that's his one main release from the year.
I mean, so barring that, I do like Sonny. So I'm gonna give it to him because I enjoy him always.
Yeah.
If this isn't my favorite release of the week, I mean, favorite release of the year.
Right. I don't know. Who will win, I think, is probably Zico.
Yeah.
Although Sonny has a good shot too. Who should win? I'll go with Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is tough just because I didn't.
I mean, Gary's,
I feel like there were other songs that could have been nominated. Like, I'm just annoyed by those choices.
lots of times. I mean, I think we're picking up on what Will said is that, like, yeah, lots of times we're kind of confused by this. It seems a little political lots of times.
For sure.
So,
Like,
I
I don't think, like,
Gary could pull it
Pentagon,
off.
for example,
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure they basically, like, forced them to put Pentagon on there. Like, they just debuted.
Right. They're like, do you want Hannah at our award show? Because if you do,
Yeah.
you need Pentagon.
Put Pentagon in there. We need representation. Yeah. Best collaboration. We're almost done,
Yes.
guys. Sorry. Mob, otherwise known as, or Mino and Bobby, otherwise known as Mob, with Hit Me. Pakyong and Eunha with Inferiority Complex. Boa and Benzino, No Matter What. Suzy and Pakyong with Dream. And last but not least, Eric Nam and Wendy, Spring Love.
Yeah. So who should win? I like the idea of going with Park Hyung and Eunha for as literally the only release not from the big three on this.
Right.
I did love that. I loved that Boa song, that Benzine. Do I think
So
it's
good.
incredible? Maybe not. I mean, it'd be cute to see Eric Nam and Wendy win.
Right.
I love them. Who do I think will win? I think it's going to be that Suzy Baekhyun collaboration.
That's what I put. Who will win? I think is gonna be Suzy. Whom I personally want to be the winner is Mino and Bobby. I love their
did love that.
collaboration.
Yes, you did. You did.
Yeah, so hopefully Hit Me wins, but
We'll see. But I
and-
think those two fan base, the Miss A, Suzy
Yeah.
fan base mixed with XO, I feel
Susie's
like.
popularity is incredible. So
Yeah. And then we're at the final larger ones.
Yes.
So we got Artists of the Year. So many artists are like nominated here. I think this is exactly what I think what Will said was saying is that, we see groups like, there's of course, EXO and Twice and BTS and Taeyeon and things like that. But then but we also have groups like, SF9 and, WJSN and Pentagon and Gugudan, all nominated for Artist of the Year. Like, really more so than, more set. Like, I don't see Beast here. I don't see,
right.
Who else, like, did I think did an awesome job this year? Like, I don't see 17 here. I don't see, I'm very, very confused about a lot of, like, how are you Artist of the Year if you, like, literally just came out?
Right.
But I guess in the end, I don't think they're going to win. I think, once again, it's going to come down to those heavy hitters like BTS and Twice and EXO.
Right.
Once again, I'd like to see it be BTS because I really think it was their year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be like BTS or EXO, I feel like.
It's funny that you say that because I have EXO down for whom I think will win and BTS for who I think should win.
And, not to say EXO had a bad year either. They had, great release, a great follow-up
Right.
release, Loved those songs in general. I love those songs, period. But
Right.
yeah.
But it's tough when you have such a wide reach internationally and you're from,
Yes.
such a huge label. It's tough. So
For sure. For sure.
And I actually didn't have Album of the Year nominees like listed. Did
Well, they have Song of the Year.
Oh, okay.
That's the other. That's
So
the
Album
last
of the Year
major one.
isn't. That's not a category this year?
I don't think so.
Okay. Because, like, in terms of what they call, like, the Taesong Awards are, like, the big awards, like Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year. So I guess I didn't see any nominees for Album of the Year this time.
I don't think, unless it's coming later. I haven't seen that either.
Right.
But
Okay.
I think, yeah, we have Song of the Year. Once again, lots and lots of,
Right, like
contenders. Basically everyone we kind of talked about beforehand. But yeah, just who should win, I mean, once again, I'm really actually looking at the most influential
Right.
songs. So Blood, Sweat, and Tears, I think that BTS's was just very influential in that year, or very that much this year. But I also think G-Friend's Rough, like that just
Really?
really solidified this sort of,
Okay.
lighter, more innocent, more freer, synthy, emotional dance ballad sound.
Okay.
So I don't know. I gotta give a little shout out to Rough and G-Friend in there. I gotta say.
I'm surprised you didn't say Press Your Number. You're, like, obsessed with Taemin.
I did. I saw that one and I was like, oh, that one's a good one too. But that would also, I really like the Pretty You song by 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd say like those guys are I love Monster by EXO too. But those are the ones that sort of, stick out to me as deserving.
Right. So I chose him because this isn't like my favorite Crush song or anything, but I remember when Don't Forget was released, it did very well on the charts. Granted, like a lot of these songs did do well on charts, but I think that song is like more or less deserving. I don't think it will win. I think it should. Because I think those two like mesh very well. What else? Like
Hard Carries on there by GOT7. I feel
it's hard for me to not be biased because I just tend to listen to people like Crush and Dean.
Right.
But I think they definitely they wouldn't win. Who I think will win? I think Twice Cheer Up has a good chance. That was such a huge hit.
Yeah, I just wonder if the fan bases are gonna come for
Right.
them.
And like you said, BTS Blood, Sweat, and Tears has a very good chance too. So I'm gonna go with those two. I think have the best chance at winning.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff.
I don't know, like why was Hard Carry nominated and not Fly? Like that song was dope.
And I don't even remember GOT7 in the other major categories. So.
Like
confusing.
for best male group? Come on.
Like
now I'm just getting angry.
I know. It seems, it's a little, the Mamas are very fun, very, awesome award show, big, important one for K-pop fans, but we're a little confused at some of the categories. But in any case, please let us know what you guys think. Yeah.
In any category.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Very
intense
long
episode, very long episode. Thank you for tuning in. I think this was episode 40, so I guess it's worth getting into, spending this much time for episode 40. So thank you guys for staying with us for 40 episodes.
Yeah,
we hope you enjoy it and send us comments anytime. As always, this has been Jeff.
And this is Tina.
See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.